Alrighty. I just wanted to kick things off, take the next 10 or 15 minutes and chat about some stuff. And yeah, we'll jump right into it. Cool. So just kind of wanted to set the stage a little bit more for kind of like the rest of the year, basically, and how it pertains to the rest of this quarter. So, yeah, I don't have to go over how many awesome things that are going on. I just mentioned stand up for anybody that missed it, but it looks like we have our first data consulting contract lined up for about $1,000 a month. So it's pretty awesome. Nick and Pooja were doing a lot of work Friday and over the weekend to get some data ready for that agent today. We just sold Kai's 2,500 agents in Florida. We're talking with KW, the largest brokerage. Things are still moving forward, whether it pans out or not. It's pretty awesome that we're talking to such a large brokerage. But those of you who know me well, I want more. Like I said, we're cranking. We've got an incredible team, and I want us to step it up a notch. We've got a lot of work to do over the next few years. I'm not worried about the next 12 months, but I am worried about 3 years from now, and I want to make sure we, set ourselves up for success over the next couple years. And I guess the thing that kind of hits home for me is like we are so well positioned. We have this team, we have our company's team, we have all of our traction in the industry. Like if there is going to be big change in this industry, like we're pretty damn well positioned to make that change. And it'd be a huge regret for me if we squandered that. And yeah, there are a lot of people starting to do some of the same things that we've been talking about. This is a service called The Goods that Teed Hayes, one of, I guess, the top, top Sotheby's team, they're using it. It looks basically right now that they're only offering the top 20 overbids or the top 20 underbids, but starting to get into some of the more market data for their agents. Smart Zip, more targeted towards listing agents, but kind of just more with their smart targeting service, more information about really fine-grained stuff about each neighborhood. There's this new site called Buyer Needs. Allows listing agents to search for buyers. I don't know how they're doing it. I haven't looked into it at all. House Canary, basically not as exact as what we're doing, but you can, I guess it's $20 a report and they'll tell you everything about a listing, like the market it's in, predictions for the price, everything about that listing. Buy side's an interesting one that we've had our eye on, but they're really going after this, buyer targeting. So what they're doing, I think I mentioned it before, we understand they're bringing in showing request data, and they have thousands of agents already on board to allow agents to target buyers. Home Spotter, more focused around the collaboration side. I like their tagline, every home search is a conversation. And we all know HomeSnap, I think, which has been doing a lot of similar stuff to what we've been doing. So, yeah, there's a lot going on in the industry. People are catching on to what we're doing is important and valuable. And I can't, I've never felt more like this about anything I've ever done, is that, hey, we are doing some awesome things, but this is no time to get complacent or, stop trying to improve ourselves or keep going at it. So, yeah, let's celebrate our wins, but, let's also not let each other get complacent about whatever we're doing. So that being said, we're going to change things up a bit for KR3. Any questions on the previous stuff or any comments, disagreements? No? All right. Cool. So we're going to try some new things, like I said, for this KR. Here's our progress so far. And that's a little bit hard to see, but on the top there, we've gone from 5.6 to 5.6 to 5.7 data points per KR. The top 2 KRs are going to probably be changed around our data consulting stuff, and that's doing pretty awesome, I would say, since we have our first customer and many more talks or meetings lined up, which is pretty cool. And then I like what Arthur did, but he also made a linear pace down there at the bottom. So given that we would add, we have about 10 weeks and we want to add 10 data points, we would want to add 1 data point on average per buyer per week. And right now we're at 69% of where we should be. So that's not cool to me. I think we can be doing better, and I think we need to be doing better. As an example, we deployed our first feature, clickable highlights and feature search on the agent search page 2.5 weeks after the quarter started. Awesome features, we got them out awesomely and everything, but I want us to do better than that. I think we can move faster. So that's kind of going to be the theme around this quarter. Instead of I want to move our mindset away from, okay, let's build something out over the next 2 weeks or the next 4 weeks. I want our mindset to be, what are we going to build tomorrow and get out tomorrow? And we should be still building something that, provides as much value as the next, something that would take 4 weeks. But I want to ask ourselves and challenge ourselves, all right, how do we provide value to our users tomorrow? And that's not deploying something to production behind a feature flag. I want it in front of users tomorrow. And I'm not saying that's the rule. I just want that to be our mindset. If we figure out, hey, we can't provide value for another week or 2 weeks, that's fine. But I want ourselves challenging ourselves to say, okay, what can we get out so that we can start learning as much as possible, whether we should continue that feature or do we need to promote it more or do we stop development on it because something else has become more important. And one thing, there's been a lot of things that's kind of prompted this, but one thing was Davide's comment a few retros ago around, I'll feature creep because I know we won't come back to it. So I want to change that completely around and say, okay, we are going to revisit everything that we put out. So yeah, let's get out something tomorrow and let's keep an eye on it. Let's make sure we have a heap report or an event to track how it's being used, and let's keep our eyes on it so that we can improve it. Sort of another kind of operational change we're gonna try this quarter is it's looking like we're gonna have pretty much 2 tracks. So listing fingerprinting and buyer fingerprinting. And listings, we can say, okay, buyers care about interior space, the lot and the exterior features, the location, the price, and the condition. And on the buyer side, we want, the buyer side is our KR3 for this quarter. It's like, okay, how many data points can we know? And right now, this quarter, we're going after explicit data points. We're not talking about anything we're inferring or whatnot. So Michael had a good breakdown in the KR3 channel about kind of categories that we're counting for buyer fingerprinting this quarter. And it's, hey, how a buyer feels about a particular home, how a buyer feels about an ideal home, what they want in their ideal home, buyer profile stuff like, okay, they're pre-approved for this much, or they're in this demographic, whatever, and buyer intent, how serious are they about making an actual purchase. Like if someone's just bought a house and they just want to keep tabs on the market and they're saving and we want to be counting buyers that are going to visit houses in person and to start getting a gauge of how serious they are. With the guess that or the bet that listing agents don't, if we're going to give them a report of these 40 buyers and they can go to their seller and say, hey, I have these 40 buyers. Well, if all of them are just looky-loos, then that's not really valuable to anybody. We want to be able to say, hey, these 3 people have visited homes or they've made offers or whatever we can tell them about that. So the buyer fingerprinting features to capture explicit data points is going to drive the stuff on the left. So you can imagine, we did the clickable highlights. What other highlights are we missing about a listing that would help buyers click on more of them, because we don't have all the information about that? Or we've talked about the Scout Rank Spike Day project. If you want to add your filters or not filters, but your weights and whatnot on different attributes, what other attributes do we need to put there so that buyers can tell us that they care about it? Or should we be bringing in all of the OSM points of interest so that buyers can interact with them on a map and say, hey, I want to see Starbucks and Targets, and I don't want to see Costco's and all that stuff. So with that, we're going to try dividing and conquering a little bit this quarter. So Michael and Davide and Luis are going to be more on the product-facing side, on the buyer fingerprinting, and Gil, Nick, and myself are going to be on the listing fingerprinting, and Anthony and Nick Blue are going to be our floaters, and or find either side as we go forward. We'll see how this works or whatever, but the I guess we call them the three anchors on either side will be pretty consistent throughout the quarter, we're thinking. And I'm sure there'll still be some crossover and whatnot. This is not like, hey, we're going to split up our teams and whatnot, but we think we might be able to get some more focused work done by splitting things up that way. Yeah. And with that being said, Michael for KR3 is going to be the decision maker on what features are going out. So he mentioned he was doing brainstorming on Friday. He's going to be in charge of what we're throwing against the wall and what we're going to be getting out tomorrow for KR3 and tracking those and measuring them and figuring out what to do next. And he's probably going to talk about how we're going to even handle stories a little bit differently with that in a little bit. And I think that's all I got. What questions do you have?
Are we still going to be doing like pointed IPMs, or no, because it's like one day type things?
A little. They'll still. April has opinions on pointed IPMs. We'll still have standard stories from Rustin and Duke that will come into the queue based upon maybe a brokerage has a need, or brokerage, that kind of stuff will still point traditionally. We're going to be running some experiments with the buyer fingerprinting stories and that stuff early on, and I'm not sure how that's going to change over time.
Okay.
But at least on the offset, we're not going to do traditional pointing right away.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and Duke had a pretty cool idea. We may start having daily IPMs after stand-up. So as stories are ready or as something's ready, we're just going to, instead of waiting till the next Monday, we're going to try let's review these two stories that we have in the queue right after stand-up.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else?
Did I miss how long this is expected to run?
Till it either works or we fall on our face.
Okay.
No, but I would expect the rest of this quarter. So we have 2 months left. I think we probably need 4 to 6 weeks to add fine-tuning along the way. But let's not try this for a week and give up or whatever. But I think it'll take at least a good few weeks. And I don't think any of us haven't. We have this general idea of how we want to try new things, but I'm sure things are not going to work as well as we thought they would, or we didn't think about something. So we'll just keep iterating on it as we always do.
Mm-hmm.
Are the pivotal stories going to have like buyer track and listing track tags on them?
We can if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
go ahead.
already used the tag KR3 stories. I'll switch that over to that, and we'll
Okay.
do that
Cool.
instead. The listing track also, just an FYI, I think we're also going to have, that'll also be the team that does some of the MLS stuff, right?
Yeah.
That'll be, because we will be also integrating the MLSs and continue to do that throughout the quarter. So
Right.
just an FYI there.
And at least initially, the listing side will probably be working on some infrastructure updates, given that I think we might have some stories that say, hey, guys, go out and get OSM data or go whatever, but we might be doing some more stuff like, okay, if we know that things gathered from our computer vision are important, all right, let's go out and make sure we update our model or whatever. So we're capturing 50 rooms and these 10 features instead of, we're basically, I guess put a better way is, what can we do now that allows us to add additional data points to a listing as quickly as possible?
Yeah, we'll try to have stories drive that, like front end stories, like user interaction stories, drive that data collection as much as possible. But sometimes we're going to make guesses. We're going to just make bets that, knowing more room types is going to be great, for example, and we'll be able to think of something cool to do with that. But that will be a bet, of course.
So the listing fingerprint is Nick, Gil.
And then Anthony and Blue are floaters, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so if there's a
So
front
sorry,
end
guys.
heavy story for listing feed, how does that go?
The listing is specifically all, as Gil found an awesome term called data ops,
Okay.
basically. You can think of it as that way. It's like we are going to be putting these attributes of a listing on like the property model, basically, to be consumed by the product feature.
So, for example, today there'll be a story you'll see, and it'll say expose nearby tag, like expose like near Starbucks, near anything, just whatever's nearby on an LDP, so a user can click it. It's going to take both teams to build that story.
Okay.
The
Gotcha.
data ops team to figure out how to get potentially OSM data into the system. Let us expose it, and we're going to expose it as clickable highlights. The buyer team. Synergy.
How are we going to measure whether or not this is working out or not? Success or failure?
KR3.
I can show. I don't know if it's too much trouble. You can switch over to my Google spreadsheet.
The velocity of each team.
Always a competition.
I'm just saying.
Well,
you
no,
asked.
right? If each story
Velocity of each.
doesn't even work.